Tonight we got on for you author and artist Dan Henk. Stay tuned.
Welcome to Talking Junk.
I'm your host, Jason Melendez.
Live now every week on Fridays.
Talking Junk.
A multitude of professionals in different aspects, different walks of life.
You have to come on and talk junk like a normal person.
Welcome to Talking Junk, the podcast that comes to you live every Friday night from Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. And now, the website, www.talkingjunknetwork.com, the hosting site for both Talking Junk and The Break Room. Tonight, we have a great guest on for you tonight. He's an artist, tattoo artist, writer, and author. Writer and author because he's written for magazines, and he got his own book out. So think about that. Don't let it go over your head. We got my man Dan Henk here. How you doing tonight, Dan?
Hey, what's up? Good to be on the show.
I'm glad to have you, man. I'm glad to have you. I know you're a busy guy. It was hard to lock this down.
Well, I saw that you sent me this promo with the baby on it, so
Right.
I brought a tattooed baby.
That's badass.
Just for the show. We have
Just
the
for the
printers working
show.
on it. We have the printers working on it. I'm like, I gotta borrow your baby.
I love the eyes.
Thank you. Yeah, you see them how they're like different angles?
Yeah. So you got a book out right now called The End of the World.
That's correct.
So what is the book about?
It's kind of apocalyptic. It has some sci-fi in it, but it's not like Star Wars, like straight up sci-fi. It's mainly everything's falling apart. There are a couple people that are like social pariahs, like one's a teenage punk rock kid. The other one's the guy who stole some government technology, and they're just trying to make it through the whole thing. And meanwhile, everything's falling apart. There's like this oligarchy that is trying to bring back like this ancient evil. Some aliens don't want us, so they come into the earth to destroy the whole place. And there's a lot going on.
So I know you got a little bit of a background in doing some comic books. Does this stem from that?
Oh, definitely. I think almost everything stems from comic books. In my world, it does. Yeah,
no. Definitely in everybody's world. It's a big thing in pop culture.
No, I remember when it was way looked down on, but I mean, silver tattoos, so is everything. Things changed over time.
Right.
But I remember I couldn't decide if I wanted to be an artist or a writer. And then when I read the first comics that were like really intricate, like Watchmen and Dark Knight and stuff like that, I was like, I can be both. This solves it.
Right. Exactly. So what was the comics you were writing for?
Well, I haven't written for comics. I've drawn for comics.
Okay, so you drew for the comics.
Yeah, but originally I wanted to be a comic artist. I interviewed with DC Comics. I interviewed with Image Comics and Marvel Comics, and I was surprised they pay you extremely small. And not only did they pay you very little, but on top of that, they have such like tyrannical control that you can't do shit. Like everybody who's managed to make it anywhere has only made it there through pure luck.
Wow.
Like they'll tell you that.
So what was your overall favorite growing up? DC, Image, or Marvel?
It wasn't. It was definitely stuff put out by DC, but I wasn't even into the whole like superhero thing, like Captain America or
Right.
Superman or anything like that. I like more like the off stuff. Like I was big into Swamp Thing. I liked Hellblazer, which came off of Swamp Thing. I liked a lot of indie stuff too, like The Crow, which they made into a movie.
Right.
And they had an awesome one called Johnny the Homicidal Maniac. And the guy from that, they hired him to do Invader Zim. So if you ever saw the cartoon Invader Zim,
Right.
I don't know what made them say, hey, this guy would be great to do like a kids show. But, I mean, because if you read that comic, it's fucking brutal.
Hey, everything dark makes it into mainstream and somehow feeds it right to the kids.
Yeah. Well, everything good.
Well, everything. Because I remember growing up, we used to watch stuff crazy like Cat House the series and Taxi Cab Confessions and all of that shit. So
Yeah,
when it makes it up there and it hits the kids, it's pretty influential throughout their life.
Right.
So you wrote for magazines too, though, right?
I've written for magazines. I've written for all sorts of publications. I did. There was a newspaper for a while that did political cartoons, and I do political cartoons for. It's called Mad Cat Magazine, and they sell it on Capitol Hill, like in those like old newspaper things where you put in like 25 cents and you pull it out and you get a newspaper. And I was the most hated political cartoon artist. But also, whenever one of my political cartoons came out, it sold the most papers. Because like people would buy it just to see what they hated me for this week.
Controversy creates cash.
Yeah.
Yeah, most definitely.
I used to make fun of everybody. There were no secret cows.
So what was the thing you liked the most coming up in your career?
What was the thing I liked the most, or the thing I wanted to do the most, or
that you've touched on a lot of things throughout your career. You've drawn for comics, you've written for magazines, you got your own book now. You're a tattoo artist in New York, which is a pretty hard thing to swing.
Yeah.
You gotta be real good in New York to keep your needle going.
Yeah, well, I've been tattooing 22 years, so a lot of people can start out, but a lot of people drop out because they just can't hack it for whatever reason. Like some people, I mean, it takes you a little while too. Like you can't expect to be, fucking famous and everybody's coming to you when you first start out. When you start out, you suck. I sucked when I started out.
Yeah, everybody starts.
Of course, I've been tattooing long enough that now I get those people I tattooed. When I was first starting up, come to me like, "Hey, man, remember this you done me 20-something years ago? You gotta fix it."
How many of those did you get?
Well, I don't really get them as much anymore, but a lot. I mean, the thing is, like, I get people to doing a lot of this too. Like I had my crew, we'd all go see like shows and stuff together, and a lot of them were all like, "Hey, man, we love your art. We'll come get tattooed." Well, yeah, maybe I could do good art, but I couldn't do good tattoos. So I do like mediocre tattoos, and they would just quit coming to me. And then like a year and a half later, they'd be like, "Hey, what's up? I really like your new work. Can you do this whole sleeve on me now and fix up this little tiny fucking piece you did on me?" But then they're thinking, "Oh, I'll get the whole thing for free." And I'm like, "Dude, I gotta pay my rent."
Right.
What are you thinking?
So anything memorable? Any memorable tattooing stories you can give us?
Yeah, I got a fucking shitload. Well, one of my favorite bands at the time was Coalesce, and to my knowledge, the only tattoo the singer has is the one I did on him. And I remember, his name was Sean Ingram, and I did it was like in red, like dark red ink, no black or anything, and it was like a skateboarding logo. And I did it big on his arm. I have a lot of crazy stories. Like I remember a kid came in, he was very feminine, but he had a girlfriend with him. But he wanted a chrome heart that said "Mama's Boy" tattooed on his ass. And I mean, I don't fucking care if somebody's gay, but hey, you should be honest about it. That poor fucking girl.
Right. What's she gonna think when she sees it?
Yeah. Well, she didn't say anything. It was just like it's weird because he was like he looked kind of like Elvis Costello or something, like kind of nerdy with like big glasses and stuff. Right. And she just seemed kind of like, "Oh, whatever," I don't know. I don't judge.
Hey, maybe they were both hiding something. You know what I mean?
Maybe,
Keep each other for cover.
Yeah.
So what even got you into drawing? Did you start at an early age?
Well, yeah, I started really early age. My dad's military, so we lived at like these military bases everywhere. We were pretty poor, and he's pretty conservative, so we didn't even have a TV. So growing up, I'd go to the local library and check out a huge stack of books, had it all read within a week. And my dad actually, he was a pretty good artist from what I remember. I barely talk to him now, but back when I was a kid, he could draw. And I was like, "Oh, well, he's pretty good." And then I like read all this stuff, and a lot of stuff I'd read would have like, it'd be a book, would have like those little illustrations on the side. And I don't know. I just took to that, and like it was a way to like visualize all the stuff that was like kind of going through my mind, and I don't know all the crazy stuff.
Yeah, so like a way to put your thoughts on paper.
Yeah, exactly.
So when did you get into writing, or did you start that around the same time?
Pretty much around this. I think I started art a little bit earlier. I remember I was in third grade, and my parents paid like it was like some lady in the local neighborhood, but I'd go and take oil painting classes from her, and I remember by fourth grade I was like reading full adult novels, and by fifth grade I wrote my first book. And I'm sure it's crap if you read it now, but at the time I liked it.
Hey, who knows? It could be good for a child.
I doubt it. It's probably crap, yeah.
Do you still have those things?
No. You mean the book that I wrote in fifth grade? No, I wrote it on like lined notebook paper. It was all in pencil and like cursive. And I remember I did little illustrations next to like on the pages. They do little illustrations like they have in Pulp Fiction,
right?
Novellas and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, the little real subtle little picture.
Yeah.
Either just before or just after a long ass paragraph.
Right.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. So what was your favorite book growing up? What really got you?
I don't know that I had one, but I could name a couple of my favorites.
Yeah.
Like I like Dune. The book Dune is really good. Neuromancer is really good. That's William Gibson. He started basically, if you look at stuff like The Matrix, that's based off of William Gibson's kind of take, I think.
How do you feel about the fact that Terminator and Matrix are the same thing?
Are they? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
What, they kind of linked the two universes or something?
They are. It's Terminator's the prequel to the Matrix.
Really?
Really?
Where did that come out? That's news to me.
The brothers turned sisters that made the Matrix,
the Wachowskis or whatever.
Yeah, the Wachowskis. They said it.
Interesting. I don't know. Like the first Matrix is amazing. I think it kind of dropped off on the second one a little bit, but I felt like it was mainly stalled, and the third one was crap. I heard the remake is not that good either, or the continuation or whatever.
If you're a guy who likes to believe people's take on movies, then you won't enjoy it. But if you go in there with a clear mind, you'll enjoy it. I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay,
especially knowing that it's part of the Terminator thing, it kind of makes sense.
No, that makes me more interested too. Like the first two Terminators are amazing too.
Right.
Like the third one kind of bit the shark a little bit, I
said the same thing today. We were watching them today, and I said the third one was a little shaky. They didn't pick the right John Connor.
Yeah.
Just like Genesis was a pretty good one, but they didn't pick the right John Connor either.
I didn't even see Genesis. I just after a while I gave up. I'm like, don't destroy my childhood, heroes and favorite movies and stuff.
That one would have definitely tore you because it took the whole first one and it shit on it.
Yeah, it's not good. The first one is awesome, so especially for like a low budget 80s movie, it was awesome.
It's funny, I still have not seen the first one in its entirety.
Really?
Really.
Why is that?
I have no idea. But I've seen all the other ones.
I've seen it way too many times.
Yeah, me too.
I remember one of my favorites too was RoboCop. I've seen that 30 times.
The remake was bloody.
I didn't like the remake.
No, I didn't like what they did to him either. They should have just kept the original look. They made him.
And the fucking hand, he has a real hand on the robot arm. I mean, come on. It's like that's a guy in a suit with his hand just popping out of it.
Be a little more believable. So where do you plan on taking this in the future?
Well, I like what I'm doing now. I tattoo 3 days a week, and then I spend the rest of the week working on writing projects and art projects. I do a lot of covers for books and magazines. On again and off again, I do covers for bands. But the problem with bands is they can be really, really picky, and you rarely get paid. No matter what they promise you, you rarely get paid.
Damn. Even
So
if
the
they
thing
use
is,
your stuff?
if they what?
Even if they use your stuff?
Oh, well, it's all going to be used. At least they say it is. And what happens is, so they'll be really picky and you do it. And then they're like, oh, we don't know. And then you do like a watercolor painting. And they go, oh, well, okay. And then you do a full on oil painting. And then they go, hey, well, can you move this like just this much? I'm like, it's not a digital image. It's an actual oil painting. I have to repaint the whole thing. And then they go, oh, well. And then they listen to all these people talk to them. Like there's one band I did album cover for, and their label said, well, you're more of a metalcore band, and an oil painting is more of a metal album thing. So you should really use a digital. Yeah. So the thing is like they pulled that on one band I did artwork for Coalesce. They pulled that Coalesce. Coalesce said, go fuck yourself. But they pulled it on Shy Lu, and Shy Lu goes, okay.
Most of the time, they got to do what the label tells them to do.
Yeah.
Depending on how much they've sold in the past. You know what I mean? Not a lot of people got the right to do what they want to in their career. Not when they first start.
Well, the thing is, like, especially they have no idea what they're doing. And like with Shy Lu, I was like, can you at least pay me for all the materials? And they're like, yeah, talk to the label. So I called the label. The label says, well, we give them in advance. And they're supposed to use that money to pay you. So I called them back again. And I'm like, and they go, oh, that's what that money was for? We already spent that.
Damn. So did you end up getting paid from all that?
Well, some of the people did. Like Coalesce was really nice. They totally paid. And they said, this is what we have to pay. Is that cool? And I did it. And they were right on their word. Shy Lu never paid me a cent for anything. And I did more artwork for them than any other band. That was a band actually that made me give up doing album covers. And I didn't do anything for bands for a long time after that because I was like still burnt out. I did 4 oil paintings for them and at least 1 illustration. And they kept changing their minds and they kept like going back and forth. And in the end, they didn't use anything the way they said they were going to use it. And yeah, it was a bad experience.
Yeah, people are so spoiled now with their artwork. They want everything digitized. Yeah. Have you ever done any work like that? Renderings on a computer or anything? Digital artwork?
I've done a little bit of like design on it digitally, but I haven't done like full on. Like people do like paintings, but they'll do it digitally, and I don't do that. And what they do with comic books now is a lot of times like they'll pencil it by hand, but they'll ink it on a computer, and they'll definitely color it on a computer.
Yeah.
And I don't know. To me personally, I feel that's kind of cheating, and I feel it didn't look as good.
Well, you're right. Sometimes the old fashioned is better than the remake in a lot of ways. But what do you think about the NFT wave? Is that where you plan on taking your artwork maybe in the future?
What's the NFT wave?
Oh, you don't know about NFTs?
No.
Well, you can take your artwork, you can digitize it, and people are buying it for the metaverse. And people are spending millions of dollars on these things.
I just heard like you can buy real estate in the metaverse.
Right. People are selling buildings, real buildings in the metaverse.
I don't know if it'll give me money for my artwork, then I would definitely do it.
I would get somebody and look into it because that is definitely the new wave of the future for artists. And sometimes you can put a physical thing behind it. Most of the time, you don't need to, especially if the artwork is phenomenal, like most of your work is. I've seen a lot of your stuff on your Instagram page. It's really good. It makes me wish I was still up in New York so I could go to the town.
Yeah, thank you.
You know what? Let's show it real quick. But yeah, man, the NFT stuff, I would definitely look into it because for artists, that is the new wave. And when you sell your artwork, you still hold a piece of it, like what is it, like residuals and stuff like that. Like like the
No,
artist.
these are all illustrations, not to cut you off. These are all illustrations for my new book. Because I told you I do like the illustrations with the book.
Those are killer.
Thank you.
So you did all of these illustrations on your own?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, those are phenomenal. Like I said, look at the detailing and all of that. And if you got you guys listening on the apps where you can't visually see any of this, be sure to go to the page, to the website, excuse me. We'll have his link on there for a week, and you can see all this phenomenal artwork. Are these from the book too?
That's from, there's a magazine I do covers for. It's a British magazine called Splatterpunk. And that's a cover I did for the latest Splatterpunk. And it's all kind of extreme horror written by different horror authors. And each one that comes out, it's like they kind of do this like limited thing where it's like, you know, you can buy it and then it's done. They sell the certain copies you have and then it's done. So people like line up to buy it.
Right, it's like a cult following.
Exactly, yeah. But you get some really big name horror authors that put their stuff in there. So it's kind of like, if you want that chance to get that one-off story by, you know, whatever your favorite name is, that might be it. That's
So
another one I did. That's
this
cover.
one right
Yeah. It's another cover I did for Splatterpunk.
Would you categorize your style as like photorealism?
Probably a little bit. Like, I think it's a little more illustrated than straight up photorealism. Like, early on, I was trying to do more photorealism, and then I realized that just because it looks realistic doesn't mean it pops. So I try to like play with it a little bit, play with the contrast and stuff to make it, you know, play with like the texture and stuff to make it like tell like a little bit more of a story.
What would you say tells your story for you more, the tattooing or the artwork?
I think the artwork, because the tattooing, people often bring their ideas to me or we settle on something together. That's a book cover I did right there. It's called Tales for Dark Hours. And usually when people have like Tales for Dark Hours is a couple different horror stories by this author. And when they often what they'll do is they'll have me read either the book or they'll have me read like the main story. They'll say, just come up with something for it. That's an ad for my latest book. Yeah.
So that's putting a lot of faith in you, and I could see why. Look, this artwork is phenomenal.
That's the first cover I ever did for Splatterpunk. That's the second cover I did for him. That's the third. The fourth.
Now, what would you say to a person who was an artist his whole life and is now venturing into tattooing?
Well, the thing I've noticed a couple of people have done this. Like like probably the best example is we had a guy that came to the studio that I now am a part of, called The Abyss, and he wanted, you know, he's like, yeah, well, I hate the people I work with. I was thinking about going to tattooing. They were like, you're a phenomenal artist. You'll make a great tattoo artist. But the problem is, he can't really. He found out that he couldn't really deal with people. He wasn't like. There's a lot of like different from artistic perspective that you have to be comfortable with in order to tattoo. Like
Right, you definitely have to be a people person.
You have to be a people person. There are different skin textures. You know, there are different areas on the body. Like some are harder to tattoo and some are easier to tattoo. Like that area is pretty easy. The one you showed with the trooper.
This one right here.
Yeah, that one. That's on the upper arm. So the upper arm is one of the easiest areas of the entire body to tattoo.
Yeah, the tougher the skin, the better.
No, actually, it's that's more of like an untampered with skin. The absolute worst of tattoo are people that are like they're like the bikers. They like bleach out their skin all day riding bikes around. So it's like you're tattooing crocodile hide when you tattoo them.
Brittle.
Yeah. Well, it's not even that it's brittle. It's brittle if you go too hard, but if you go too soft, it's too tough to puncture. So it's like you're trying to play in between.
Right. You got to tell your clients from now on to moisturize for the week before they get to you.
We do, but you're lucky people listen to you.
Yeah, nobody listens nowadays. Look at all of this stuff.
No, thank you. That's a back piece, Judge Dre. Back piece. That guy would come down from Massachusetts and get sessions by me.
Damn. Might have to go up there and get signed, man.
Well, I do a convention there for a while. I did like 6 years in a row. I've been tattooing 22 years, so it's been a while now. But I've traveled all over Europe
already, right?
Yeah. I did. I've done conventions in Europe, and I did guest spots in Europe. At one time, I moved to Austin, Texas, and the big thing down in Austin, Texas, is like old school, traditional style tattoos, and that's not really what I'm known for. So
yeah, like Americana.
So people were traveling to me to see me. So I was like, I don't know. I'll just travel to Europe because they all want to see me in Europe and they love my stuff. So I was like, I spent a month in Europe. And just traveling from place to place. I remember I was at one place, they kind of have this idea in their head. I mean, probably everybody has this idea. They're like, oh, well, if you travel from a long way away, you must be awesome. So, like, I remember I was doing a guest spot, and I went to get, like, a gyro at a local place. And they're like, oh, you came here all the way from the U.S.? Oh, you must be really good.
Hey, you are really good, though.
Well, thank you.
Were they wowed when you showed them your portfolio?
They didn't even ask to see it. And I just remember I went there to get food. I was kind of tired out because I'd been tattooing for several days straight. And, and we had there's very broken English. And I was just saying where I was from. They're like, oh, you must be. They're like walking away as they say it. So I was like, yeah, whatever. And the thing is, in Europe, too, I've noticed that, tattooing is like big tattoos are more an American thing. Like if you go to Europe, they want like one small tattoo that nobody can see if they want to put on the right clothing.
That's for naughty time.
Yeah. Well, I also noticed it's a lot more like the whole idea of like being an individual is bigger here than it is there. Like here, if you get a car, the first thing you do is you want to change the rims or maybe tint the windows or something. There's like, I want my car to look exactly like my neighbor's. The more it looks like my neighbor's, the better.
They all fall in line, right?
I don't want to stereotype anybody, but people do like to be more like each other there, and they feel like something's wrong with you if you want to do it different.
Well, this is why everybody comes over here when they want to be free.
I think so. The one thing we lead the world on now is culture, because everybody loves to buy our culture.
Yep, and there's so much culture.
Yeah.
You can walk down 2 blocks and find so many things.
Well, it's great, too, because I live in New York City, like right next to New York City, but it's Long Beach, New York. But, if you go to New York, there's one area that's Chinatown. There's another area that's Koreatown. There's another area that's Spanish. There's another. You get to fucking see everything.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. That's the beauty of New York. Now, what do you have coming up? Are you following up on this book? Is there going to be a sequel?
Yeah, definitely. What I do, I try and do a lot of research into my stuff because one thing that really bugs me, because I've read thousands of books. Like I said, I was reading full novels by 4th grade. So one thing that really bugs me is when people get facts wrong. Like they'll talk about something and like, dude, it doesn't work that fucking way.
Get your shit straight.
Like, have you seen the movie Armageddon?
Yes.
So if you remember, at one point they go on this meteorite and they're trying to keep it from crashing into Earth and ruining everything, so they're drilling it. And at some point in the movie, Bruce Willis goes, "Wait, I hear something." I was like, "It's fucking space. You wouldn't fucking hear anything." It's not a good movie, but that especially ruined the movie for me.
Right, you're hearing your ass in your suit, motherfucker. You don't get nothing out there.
So what I try and do is I did a story on the Loch Ness, and the Loch Ness monster is like this alien creature and all this sort of stuff. But I waited until I did a guest spot in Scotland. I went up there. I took it was a 4-hour bus ride up to Loch Ness, which is up in the Highlands of Scotland. And I went across the loch. Loch is their word for lake. So I went across the lot, and I had like this visual imagery of what everything looks like. I got the feel for it. I did my first book. Like part of it takes place in the Mayan ruins. So I waited till I went down to Mexico, and I took all these pictures. I went to Chichen Itza and
So you
Cabal.
make sure you do your research before anything.
Yeah. So for my next book, it's like this whole alien invasion that's being fought by like this small like the only people that are left. So like my dad's military intelligence, so I was asking him for advice, and he was like, well, if you look at like the Taliban in Afghanistan, they're fighting much bigger force, but they were effective. You look at the Viet Cong when they're fighting us, in Vietnam. And so I got some books. So I'm doing some research and some reference and reading up on some stuff.
Right. That sounds amazing. Sounds amazing. We definitely have to have you back on when that one comes out.
Thank you. Yeah.
Now I see you have tattoo on your inner palm. Did you do that one yourself?
Yeah. By the way, it hurts like a motherfucker.
The inner palm?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Because the thing is, like, if you look at the inner palm, like all this is scar tissue. That's why it's so thick. So the needle has to punch through all that scar tissue to deposit ink. Not only that, but this is a really amazingly well-healed tattoo for the palm. Usually they heal like shit.
Right. Usually they're faded too.
Yeah. Well, that's another story. There's another reason that could be part of it, but we could get a complex technical, discussion about the whole thing going. But the thing is, I remember the girl who did this, her name is Jessica Lockhart. Now, when she did this, she did all this research because she was kind of nervous because she was like, oh, this guy's a big name. Oh, I get a tattoo of him. I better not fuck it up. And so
sweating in her boots.
She was watching videos and everything, and she figured that, so what you do is you line it, and then you fill it in by like staple technique, and then you go back with the bag and you fill the whole thing. And so the whole thing is like way more complex than normal. Plus, you hang the needle out further than you normally would to punch through all that callus tissue, like all the extra.
How do you keep from hitting those little bones in your hand?
Well, nothing goes deep enough where it hits bones. Like even when you do like the top of the head, it doesn't hit the bone. The needle goes. You have more than one layer of skin, so it goes in the second layer of skin and deposits ink down there. It doesn't actually hit the bones.
Are veins ever a problem?
No, you don't go that deep. I mean, if you're going that deep, you don't know what the fuck you're doing. I'm sure there are plenty of people that have done it, but they're not good tattoo artists.
Right. Well, I know you're a busy man, and I want to thank you for coming on, man. You've been a wonderful guest. Your artwork is fucking phenomenal.
No, thank you.
The book, again, guys, is The End of the World. And you can find it everywhere. Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, Audible. Was it on Audible, did you say?
It's on Audible, yeah. Any day now, it'll probably be a documentary on the History Channel.
All right. I want to see that. Well, you plan on doing any TV?
No, I did. My previous book is called Down Highways in the Dark by Demons Driven. There's a collection of stories, and one of those short stories got what do they call it? Where they pick it up for like a show like the Black Mirror, New Twilight Zone, whatever sort of thing. So it's like they optioned it, and I got all excited. I was like, dude, I'm gonna make some real fucking money off this thing. And then it didn't go anywhere, but at least people are paying attention.
Yeah, man. As long as it got to somebody's hands and eyes, you're moving in the right direction.
Right.
You've been there for years, though. You've been there for years. And your work shows itself. And like I said, when we're in New York again, I'm definitely coming to you. I got a lot of artwork that I need to get done.
All right, nice.
Mainly, maybe a photograph of the baby that you're on the graphic.
The tattoo baby?
Yeah, definitely. Right. That's my son.
All right, we can do that.
Yeah, man, I'm looking forward to it. So, again, thank you for coming on and blessing us with your presence. where can you let everybody know where to find you?
Probably the best is my website, danhenk.com. It's DNHENK.com. And Daddy Guy LLC is me on Instagram. But on Instagram, I just post my progress to everything. So you might get like unfinished pieces and stuff like that. On my website, it's like all my finished work I put up there, whether it's, art projects or writing or tattoos or whatever. Like, I don't put really in progress stuff there. I have a blog too, like, so I keep it all like up to date on what's going on.
Where do you find the time to do all of this?
My girlfriend says I do way too much. Yeah.
Well,
I don't know.
My wife tells me the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I just figure, you got to keep at it. Nobody gives a fuck except for you.
Exactly.
If you fail, nobody gives a fuck except for you.
Exactly. You got to revel in your own shit after that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You got to sulk in it. Well, again, thank you, sir, for coming on. I know you're a busy man. You probably got some writing or some artwork to do back there, so I don't want to keep you any longer from your
I got boring stuff in the
wondrous
shop.
abilities. Thank you very much.
Man. Thanks for having me.
No. It was my pleasure. Guys, remember, I'm going to have Dan's links on the website for a week there. Click on it. Book a tattoo. Go get yourself a tattoo. You said 3 days a week. Where are you tattooing now out in New York?
I own a shop called The Abyss Tattoo. It's in Long Beach, New York. It's about 35 minutes out of the city.
All right.
Like, my girl is in Brooklyn, so I go pick her up all the time.
See, there we go. Make sure you go out to, it was Long Beach, was it?
Yeah, Long Beach, New York.
Long Beach, New York. Go get a tattoo from Dan. Make sure you let him know that you were a junker and you seen the show. Again, thank you, Dan, for coming on. Junkers, I have been me and you have been you. Thank you for coming through. Tune in tomorrow night for the break.